Hey guys, Ron from Wild Better Fish USA. So I had an opportunity to rescape the 55 mixed wild species setup, mostly fish from the Unamaculata complex from Petati, Palafina, Unamaculata Montoy, and you also have a pair of Grogot, Tenal Grogot in this tank. So I took the opportunity to trim up some of the pothos and to rearrange the driftwood and some of the rock work. I wanted to try to make the appearance of two separate formations, actually three separate formations. You got one on the right, one in the center, and one on the left. This tank is filtered by an Eheim canister filter that I utilize in the corner. And I put the spray bar just on the one side and run the water down the glass not to create too much turbulence inside the setup itself. There are also two workhorse Eheim aqua balls that I've used in this tank for quite some time. And they add beneficial added biological and mechanical filtration. The plants in this tank are Java fern, pothos, and some Java moss. And you can tell in the center right there that the gouramis are spending a lot of time pushing each other around and doing what gouramis do. The red-tailed shark is, believe it or not, has actually had a hard time in this tank. He's tried to confront a few of the Unamaculata in this tank, and he actually got shook up a little bit. And since his face is much smaller, and we know that wild bettas, especially the Unamaculata complex, like the lip lock, he made the mistake of facing down one of the Unamaculata, and he got shook up a little bit. And I was concerned that he might have received some neurological damage, but for the most part, he seems to have recovered in the past 4 days. The corridors seem to be a very good companion fish for wild bettas, especially the Unamaculata. They're virtually indestructible, and the Unamaculata kind of leave them alone. Of course, the Unamaculata from time to time do show a little attention to one another, but this tank, with all the big wild bettas in it, shows very little very little aggression in regards to doing damage to one another. A lot of these fish face each other down, threaten a little bit, do a little posing, and go about their business. For the most part, mixing wild bettas in the Unamaculata complex is not an easy task, but you're going to need at least a 4-foot tank, and in some instances, I say a 6-foot tank would be even better, especially for the amount of fish I have in this tank. I've gotten lucky that the Tenal Grogot hasn't caused any problems with a lot of the other fish, since he's the biggest one. Second to him would be Frog, my Unamaculata Betta Antuta. He's also from the Unamaculata complex. Frog is very dominant and has even backed down the Grogot, even though the Grogot's body is overall larger than Frog. Frog is the more dominant fish in this tank. You're not going to see breeding in a tank like this. So the tank like this is going to be great for displaying wild bettas and maybe storing wild bettas that are maybe past their prime. But you're not going to get fish to hold. There's way too much competition and territorial flashing and disputes. But like I mentioned, none of the fish make real strong physical contact with one another to the point of doing damage. But I've never had any fish hold in this tank. I've had them spawn and then eventually, because of the amount of fish in this tank, swallow. So that is a proven fact. When you mix fish like this, you're not really going to have successful spawnings. So with that being said, I never put the fish in this tank with the intent to breed them. I put fish in this tank because of space needs, and I was wanting to test out and see if the Unamaculata fish can actually get along. I wouldn't put a macrostoma in a tank like this. I hold them in too high regard to put a fish at risk like that. And B, I just don't think it's the right setup for macrostoma. Now, could you mix other macrostoma together in the 55? Sure, I'm sure you could keep a colony of macs at different stages of their lives with females in a 55. I've kept Antuta together in groups, Petati together in groups. Palafina can be a little tricky. And obviously, Unamaculata Montoy, which is the fish directly in the center right there with the really nice pelvic fins, they seem to do fine. They're brothers. They avoid conflict. And overall, the gouramis are tough enough to keep in a tank like this. I was surprised, though, that the Rasboras have actually taken a little bit of a beating, and eventually some of the larger Unamaculata have picked them off. I have kept frog before with neon tetras, and he has never touched them. So I know he's not the culprit. And if I think there's a fish large enough to actually eat the Rasboras that were in this tank originally, it had to be either the female Antuta or the female Patati Tenogragat. So with that being said, 55-gallon tank should be your minimum. This is the new Scaped Wild Betta mixed species setup. And if I had my choice, I'd go 6 foot long. Would probably be a great tank. 90-gallon tank would make a really good tank for these type of fish. Paludarium type setup. So thanks for watching our videos. Please subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter. We're even on Tumblr, Wild Betta Fish USA. So for more videos, guys, stay tuned. Please subscribe. See ya.